So today we hear Jesus asking his disciples, what word was out in the public about him? Who do people say that I am? And the disciples gave him all these different versions of what was going on and what they had people say and what they thought about him. Yet we know that this was a leading question. It was meant to lead the disciples to reflect on the identity of Christ himself. And so he moves on to the second question, who do you say that I am? And of course, Simon Peter gave an appropriate answer that Jesus was Christ, was the Christ of God. He was the anointed one of God, that he was the Messiah of God. Buried deep inside that question is also the question that we rarely ask. Who do people say you are? You Fred, who do people say that you are? What is the word out there that you've heard about yourself? Or what are people saying about you? And this is each one of us not really meant to be a reflection of Christ, his message and his values? By the dint and by the back of our baptism, is each one of us not meant to be really a reflection of Christ, that when people look at us, they can be able to know who Christ is? He doesn't need to talk about himself. They will see the way how we're carrying ourselves and what is going on in our life, given what we profess, and they will simply just understand. When Christ walked our world, he was known as the just one. He was known as the generous one, the prayerful one. He was known as the forgiving one, the listening one, the humble one, the wise one, the one who loved so much, and the one who cared a lot about other people. These are the marks that are meant to mark us, people who are baptized and who bear Christ in our hearts and also in our lives. That the people will be able to look at us and say, we know, we can see the DNA, we can be able to see the marks that really marked Christ. Today we are celebrating a great saint, St. Vincent de Paul, who was a defender of the poor and also the abandoned. And is also the patron of all the Catholic charities that we know about, just like my brother Skip and so many others. And here was a saint who gave food to the hungry, provided water to those who were thirsty, dressed those who needed to be clothed, sheltered the homeless, visited the sick, the imprisoned, and also buried the poor who otherwise wouldn't find a dignified farewell. These are the acts of charity that were just concrete. They are concrete ways for us also as the people to make others be able to experience and also to know Christ. These are corporal works of mercy. We rarely talk about those things so much nowadays, but they are still part of our faith, the corporal works of mercy. And through them, so many people get to meet Christ, the one who was kind, who was generous, who was just, who was caring, and who was forgiving, and so many other things. It is a very concrete way of people experiencing and getting to know Christ. You know, many years ago, while working in a parish, I was invited to visit someone who was down with sickness and had been bedridden for a while. And I arrived at dusk when the sun was almost setting. And I arrived with one of the parish leaders. And our work was to go there and to pray and also to give a Holy Communion to the one who was down and sick. The lady who was visiting was poor, lived alone, and now she was down with the sickness. And when we showed up this late in the evening, it had actually become dark. And when we tried to enter her little house, she was so poor that she didn't even have a wax candle for light into the house. And we could only be able to hear her voice. So what we did, the parish leader rushed to go and buy the candle while I waited outside for the pastor, for him to bring the candle. And when he returned, we prayed together, gave her the whole communion, and then she asked if we could find her some food to eat. Please get me some food to eat. Wow. So she was not only sick, but she was also starving. This is where it was. So we did, and went and got some food. And then the following day, we returned and picked her up in our parish truck. By the way, parish trucks in some of these places are also ambulances. So the priest's truck is also used to pick the patients and take them to the hospital. So we got her to the hospital the following day, and later on she recovered and she was up and about in the parish and very active as she had been before. Well, the message is this. Sometimes it's through the charitable activities that we do that people will ever get to know who Christ is and ever get to understand how much he loves them and how much he cares for them. Today might be a good day to ask ourselves, in what practical ways, just like St. Vincent de Paul did, can I make Christ more known in my family and also in my community? And may the good Lord grant us the needed grace to see, to hear, and to reach out to those on the margins of society. Amen. Amen.